hr2 580.
All advice given is for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
None, zip, zada, zero privilege. That's right. Anything you say here can and will be used against you in a court of law. So if you get on here and you start confessing to a crime like a couple callers have over the years, eventually they'll subpoena the tapes. Poor Shane will have to go in and testify and tell him, and then we say, well, he said his name was Jim or Bob or Ted. There's always 3 letters. When you're making up a name, nobody ever makes up 5-letter names or 10-letter names.
I just don't want to think about it. It just comes quick like that when it's 3 letters.
Right. Tim, Tom. Carl's 4 letters, so it'd probably be confusing if you use my name.
Bill's another one.
Bill. Bill's the 4-letter fake name? Yeah. Anyhow, 540-0580. Hey, Jim, you're on the air.
Hi, Carl. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, I got a question, and like a couple callers before, maybe you will want to comment on this, but maybe, just maybe, you might be able to clear the fog up a little bit.
All right.
And this has to do with Obama's constitutional eligibility to be on the state ballot.
Got it.
The Constitution of the United States in Article 1, Section 2 states that the President of the United States must be a natural-born citizen.
Right.
And under that clause, there is Supreme Court dicta, not dicta, I'm sorry. Dicta is completely different. That's an opinion. There is a Supreme Court decision that was made back in the late 1800s, I guess, having to do with a woman's eligibility to vote.
Right.
And her citizenship. And in that decision, the Supreme Court said that a natural-born citizen is a person born in the United States to United States citizen parents.
What's going on back there? You okay? You okay, Jim?
Yeah.
All right.
So now, I was, what you read on the internet and all this kind of other stuff, all it does is confuse people.
Right.
And it's got me confused because Brett Baer from Fox News on his blog site cited Article 14 in talking about Obama's eligibility to be president. Well, Article 14 doesn't have anything to do with Obama's eligibility to be president.
Well, here, let me read you Obama's full bio from the 1991 brochure that his literary agent put out. Barack Obama, the first African-American president of the Harvard Law Review, was born in Kenya and raised in Indonesia and Hawaii. The son of an American anthropologist and a Kenyan finance minister, he attended Columbia University. They'll let anybody in at Columbia University, by the way, and worked as a financial journalist and editor for Business International Corporation. He has served as project coordinator in Harlem for the New York Public Interest Research Group and was executive director of the Developing Communities Project in Chicago's South Side. His commitment to social and racial issues will be evident in his first book, Journeys in Black and White. Now, that book, I guess, was never published. But interestingly, right, back in 91, at least, his literary agent said he was born in Kenya. Now, they've now come out and said that was just a typo. So, I don't know, Jim. I don't know. Here's the issue. It's not illegal to do anything if nobody will enforce the law, right?
That's a fact.
So,
and people, good people across the United States are trying to enforce this law, but not the law. Well, I guess it is the law. It's the Constitution of the United States, and that is our founding law.
right.
So there's good people, and I'm not a birther. I don't care where the man was born. Okay, whether it was in Hawaii, he could have been born in my backyard for all I care.
Now, I did see, also, I don't know if you saw this or not, Arizona elections chief seeks proof of Obama's citizenship. Arizona's Secretary of State said Friday, this past Friday, he had asked officials in Hawaii to verify that Barack Obama was born in their state in order for the president's name to appear on the November ballot in Arizona.
Well, to me, that's a ruse. And the reason why I say that's a ruse is, like I said, I don't care where the man was born. Okay? John McCain was born in Panama, but he was born on United States soil to American citizens.
Right, and that qualifies. And my point on that is what you're trying to say, and it's just help the listeners out here, and then we're going to move on. But help the listeners out. You're trying to say is I don't really care where he was born. I care about his qualification. And it would be possible to be born in Kenya and be a naturally born American citizen, right, or a natural born person as a citizen, but certain prerequisites would apply.
As
right.
Both of his parents would have had to have been citizens of the United States, which his father, by his own biography, by his father's first book, by Barack Obama's own biography,
right,
states that he was not a United States citizen, and in fact, when Barack Obama was born, he came to Hawaii after Barack Obama's mother brought him to Hawaii.
Well, that's the question. The question was, where was he born at this point? So it does become, where was he born?
No, the question isn't where Barack Obama was born. The question is to his father's citizenship.
Well, I understand, but if his father's citizenship wasn't U.S., but he was born in Hawaii, he'd still be natural-born citizen.
No.
You don't think so?
No. You must be born of two United States citizen parents.
Not to be a natural citizen if you're born on U.S. soil.
Yes, you do.
Oh, I disagree with that. Anyhow, I gotta move on because people want to talk about some more pressing legal issues in their own life. But it's interesting, isn't it? The birther issue has not completely gone away yet, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay, Carl.
All right, brother.
Take
540-0580. Don't get eaten by your dogs. John, you're on the air. John. I kept hearing that dog yapping in the background. It kept reminding me of Obama admitting to eating a dog in one of his books. And then I thought about Mitt Romney taking his dog and keeping it in a car carrier covered in Lexan or something. But, I mean, come on now. Both those guys. John, you got a question?
Yes.
Shoot.
I was listening to Durgan yesterday, and a caller said that if you have a gun that you would use for self-defense, you should be able to have a clear paper trail to it. And my question is this. I started thinking about the gun I have, and I believe, I actually can't remember how I got it, but I believe I traded my son. I had a 6-shot 357, and I traded for this 9mm semi-automatic. I don't have any paperwork or anything on it, so if I would use it for self-defense, what would my...
Well, what that caller was just trying to say was that a gun that has no paperwork on it just could create a little glitch in the whole process at some point. When you have shot somebody and a prosecutor wants to try to jam you up, he's going to try to admit that the gun was stolen or that you should never have that gun because it was taken from, fill in the blank. Now, if my house is broken into and I got to pick which gun to use, I probably want to use the one with the best paper trail, right? But at the end of the day, it's not going to make a difference in 99.9% of all cases. Plus, your odds of actually shooting somebody with your gun are not that great. So when you factor it all in, I wouldn't sweat it too much. You know, you have to have the rare event of having to shoot somebody. Then you have to have the rare event of the gun turning out to have some bad past. And then you have to have the rare event of some prosecutor trying to turn that around on you when you were fairly just defending yourself. So, you know, I mean, people do win the Powerball, though, so.
Very good.
All right, man, I got to go to break.
Yep, bye.
Welcome back. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions, 540-0580. Hey, we got a little bit more than half an hour left. We have 40 minutes to go. So if you're driving around thinking about what you want to ask or not sure, feel free, call in, get it on the air, 540-0580. And, of course, throughout the week, if you need a lawyer, you go to romingerlaw.com, ROMINGERLAW.com, 540-0580 to call in here today. But if you need to call the office, it would be 241-6070, 241-6070. Ken, you're on the air.
You say Ken?
You're on, Ken.
How long is the certification valid for on a handheld radar gun?
I believe the radar gun has to be tested at a lab, I think, once a year.
That all? Okay.
It used to be more frequent than that. I know, for instance, the odometers used to be every 60 days, and I think the radar gun was every 60 days, too, at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the state police started carping about how expensive it was. So, you know, it's very important to save money. It's very important to save money, even if innocent people go to jail.
Are they allowed to park on private property?
Yes.
They are.
Yes. Now, the person whose private property is has the right to kick them off.
But
No.
they can be sitting there whenever they run.
But the fact that they're on somebody else's private property when they're beating up on you is of no moment.
Okay. I guess I don't have much then to go on.
Well, you know, the other thing is to get in there and negotiate it.
Yeah, that's what I intend to do. Try to do. Yeah. Okay.
All right, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you. 540-0580. Blake.
Carl.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hi, I have a question for you about this politician, DeWeese, that
Yes.
reported for sentencing. I only heard of it one other time, and that was with the Druce back in the early 90s. It hit the guy in Harrisburg and killed him and then tried to hide the vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
I do.
When he's reporting for sentencing, can he get bailed out? I thought you can only get bailed out up till you're...
Now, in Pennsylvania, I've had many, many, many clients on bail pending appeal, so it's not that unusual. In high-profile cases, it seems unusual because they're high-profile cases and everybody thinks everybody should be in jail forever. But here's my point. The typical scenario is if it carries less than 2 years, so in other words, if your potential sentence is less than 2 years, you're going to get a absolute right to bail. The judge can't deny you bail. He can increase the amount, he can make it high, but he can't deny you bail. If your aggregate sentence is
found guilty and sentenced and
right,
appealing it.
Right. If your sentence is more than 2 years under the rules, then the bail is discretionary with the court, meaning you have no mandatory right to bail on appeal. So, if that's
that was a special thing for the politicians.
Well, no. Listen, I've had guys that have had marijuana charges where they're facing a 5-year mandatory, and I've kept them out on appeal. I had another guy had a sex offense case who's had a 5-year mandatory. We kept him out on appeal. So it's not that unusual. It just doesn't happen because you don't read about it in the newspaper. I think nobody really pays attention. Now, I do know some counties. Years ago, I was in Lebanon County, and I asked to get somebody out on a DUI pending appeal, and the judge denied me because they said they didn't do that, and I had to file something with the Superior Court and remind them that Lebanon County is still part of Pennsylvania, and they ordered them to release the girl on bail. But that was one where they had to put out bail because it was less than 2 years. Then the bail bondsman said, wow, I never did an appeal bail before. And I said, well, this is making sense now because it sounds like they didn't do them in Lebanon.
Oh, okay.
All right, my friend.
I'll find out. Thank you.
Yeah. 540-0580. Adam, you're on the air.
Hi, Carl. I got a question for you about where you said the right to carry a gun, and I have 3 convictions. One is an M3 simple assault and 2 DUIs within 4 years.
Okay.
And I was wondering what I would need to look for to find out if I would be able to have a firearm, or what would restrict me, or how I would go about finding out exactly where those convictions set.
Right. Well, what I would need to do is actually go and look at your criminal background. So the first thing I would do if I were you is go to the state police website and request your own certified criminal background.
Okay.
And then what we need to do, once you have that, you can do one of two things. You can schedule an appointment and come see me in my office, or you can just call back in here to the show, and we'll go through the offenses and discuss them.
Okay.
All right?
All right. Thank you.
Sounds like a plan?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's go to the Pennsylvania State Police website. Folks, you can and should probably run yourself periodically on the PA web dockets, but also if you think you might have something in your background and not sure, and people go, how can somebody not know what they have? Well, listen, I have plenty of clients who are 40 years old. They were arrested when they were 21, 18, 19. They remember going in front of a judge. They never went to jail, but they didn't realize that there actually was a disposition of some type that became a permanent record. Believe it or not, you don't even have to be physically arrested. You could just get a piece of paper in the mail that says come to the courthouse, show up, walk back out of the courthouse, have no probation, no parole, no costs, and a criminal record. So, now while that was extremely a rare example, I did once before actually have somebody plead to no contest for no cost, no fines, no restitution, and no supervision. So it's possible. I know this. My point being is if you walk in and out of a courthouse, you might have become a criminal and not even realized it. And so it does pay to check that stuff out. Now, I find it hard to believe some people don't remember, stabbing their mother or shooting their neighbor. That I might have a little difficulty with. But it's these minor things that become disabling offenses or which crop up on employment applications years later. And it also pays to make sure that somebody else isn't out there stealing your identity. These days, people sometimes steal other people's identities, and then when they're pulled over by the police, for instance, they give a fake name and social security number, and somehow a traffic ticket gets associated with you, and it goes to warrant. So there are things like that could be hanging out there as well. So it's advisable in this day and age because it's so easy to check. Just go to Google and look up the Pennsylvania web dockets, and then run yourself a few different ways in there and see what you see. And that way you can have some peace of mind. You can also look at your buddy's speeding tickets that way. You'll be able to do that. If you want to check out whether your ex-husband is caught a DUI recently, things like that. It's also a very valuable use of it. We see that increasingly. And, of course, now we see Facebook pages in court all the time, too. It's not unusual for people coming in a custody case with the PA web dockets to show me all the evil things their ex-spouse did, as well as their Facebook page to show me how they're still partying and driving around when they don't have a license. Paul, you're on the air.
Hey, Carl. Hey, I do a lot of work with foreclosures and represent a bank, and the bank's taking a property back in foreclosure. We've got a sheriff's deed, and so we can easily prove that the property belongs to the bank.
Right.
Went to take a look at the property, and it looks like it's occupied in the fact that, there's still stuff in the house.
Right.
But when we start watching the house, it looks like the property may be abandoned because notices on the door stayed there for weeks and weeks and weeks. The newspapers aren't being picked up. The car in the garage hasn't moved at all. At what point can the bank literally, or the bank's agents, enter the property to inspect it or just find out what's going on?
It seems to me that if you have a legitimate belief that the property is abandoned, I think you can enter.
Okay.
I think that's fine. I think if you discover that the refrigerator's running and the bacon's cooking on the stove, you might need to rethink whether things are abandoned or not. On the other hand, the only thing that concerns me is the car is going to be a titled property, so that's going to be handled a little bit differently. You're going to end up having to call a police officer and have him come and put a salvage tag on it, and then a salvor can come and take it.
Right. No, I'm just worried about more just entering into their property for fear one of the neighbors call the police, and then, how are we going to say,
I would make
breaking into this house? As far as I know, the guy could be dead in there. I don't know.
Right, which has been discovered in a few of these foreclosures around the country. My thought on that matter would be then you may even want to just call the local police department ahead of time.
Okay.
And say, hey, this is who we are. We've got rights to this house. We don't think anybody's living in there, but we did have, some concern that nothing's been removed from it either. So we want to make entry, and we're going to make entry, but we want to give you guys a heads up that if you wanted to have an officer over when we did it, that's great. But that way, if you get a phone call and somebody sees somebody, breaking down a door, we own the house now. We just want to make entry.
Right.
And that will probably defang the entire situation.
Okay. So
have your credentials and your foreclosure order with you as well.
Okay, and then just make sure the police are on our side.
Yes. And Paul, just since you were kind enough to call in and ask that question, let me make sure people know who you are. Paul Chase works with Coldwell Banker Select Professionals. I know you advertise here on the show, Paul. If people are interested in short sales, either buying or selling, what should they be doing to get a hold of you, and what can you do for them?
Just give me a call at 735-8400. And we'll be able to either find a way, if they're having a hard time making their mortgage payments, we'll see what we can do to work it out. Or if somebody's looking to buy a foreclosure or distressed property at substantially reduced prices, we can certainly take care of that as well.
So, and I just want to make sure people know Paul does a really nice job with this. And you were actually what I called a short sale specialist before most people even knew what a short sale was.
Correct. I was doing short sales before short sales became cool.
Yeah, back when no realtor knew what one was and nobody wanted to be involved with one, and now by necessity there are just so many houses that are underwater and people that are so financially distressed that they're becoming, I wouldn't say the norm, but they're mainstream now.
They certainly are. When I started getting into it, I was teaching realtors how to do short sales. And I got more and more realtors were telling me that they didn't want to do them. And I kept telling them, and it's true now, that you can't be a licensed realtor right now and not somewhere along the line you're going to run across a short sale, just because 1 out of every 4 properties sold in America right now is somewhere in the foreclosure process. So,
Paul, again, if people want to get hold of you to do a short sale with their house or learn how to buy a short sale bargain, they're going to call you at what number?
735-8400.
735-8400. Call Paul Chase if you want to talk to him about purchasing a short sale or unloading a short sale. Got to go to break, Paul. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Welcome back. Carl Rominger here answering your legal questions, 540-0580. Well, what have we talked about? Let's do the recap of the show up to date. We talked about the Supreme Court justice who's going down because she used her sister's senatorial campaign staff, leaving an opening on the Supreme Court, which means that all the decisions are now going to be tied 3-3, which means the Superior Court's effectively going to be in charge. Right, no, I'm just kidding. But it is interesting. And, of course, she could be impeached and removed from office, and that would speed things along. I guess I also caught that the Judicial Ethics Board just brought some charges against her. Now, Gene Stilp's kind of running around saying, hey, I lodged my first complaint 2 or 3 years ago about this stuff, and nobody did anything about it. So more kudos to Gene Stilp, who always seems to be on the cutting edge of everything. He's the guy with the big pink pig, but a lot of people don't realize he's also the guy that put the Statue of Liberty out there in the Susquehanna. So when you're driving up 322 and you see that big white Statue of Liberty out there, you should know not only that it marks a really good spot to fish, but it also marks a little bit of local history. And, where did that come from? Well, that was his doing as well as some other folks. But always interesting. What else have we talked about here today? Well, a lot of gun stuff. Basically, keep this in mind. You've got to know your gun rights. If you have a firearm, maybe one of these days, Shane, we could do a seminar somewhere on firearms. Maybe we could do. Well, we've done some fishing game clubs. So I guess if you are a member of a fishing game club out there, we went to Harrisburg Hunters and Anglers last summer, and they have me booked again, don't they, Shane? Did they book me already? Yeah, check. I think they're booked again for sometime, maybe next summer. But if you do have a club out there, and I don't care where, if you can hear this signal, you're close enough. We'll come out and give a little presentation on self-defense, what your rights are, things you should know, how to deal with the law enforcement after the fact, before the fact, and just a little general overview and any other questions you want answered. I don't claim to know all the gun laws because it's almost impossible for one person to have all the interplays nailed down. But I'm always happy to do that, and I find that the audience participation is usually very strong. It's funny. You can go to a crowd of 100 people. You gather up 100 people anywhere, and most people, are pretty passive crowd members, and then maybe you get a few questions. I find that when we talk about the gun topic, if there's 100 people in the room, there's 110 questions ready to go. Because everybody can think of something where it concerns them. It's a serious issue, and it's something you want to make sure you have top of mind. So if you want, you just feel free to call in here, 540-0580 at some point. Let Shane know, or anybody at WHP. They'll put you in contact with Shane, and we can get you booked if you want me to come out and talk about gun law. If you want to get your questions answered today, it's 540-0580. And, of course, if you want to talk to me off the air and get your private legal concerns handled, we do have a team of 6 lawyers. We've got one lawyer licensed in New Jersey, one lawyer licensed in New York as well. And if you can hear the signal, we can pretty much handle it. So if you're down there in Lancaster County, Dauphin County, Cumberland County, Franklin County, Adams County, Huntingdon County, Sunbury County, Center County, wherever you are, we can certainly handle your legal issues. 540-0580. Brian, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yeah, what's going on, brother?
Hey, I got a quick question here for you. A year ago, in January, I had to buy a new vehicle. At the time, my credit was lousy, and my aunt co-signed for me. Okay? Are you there?
I'm here.
All right. So my aunt co-signed for me. Well, I just recently found out that the dealership wasn't up for it and open with what they were doing. They actually put my aunt down as the primary and me as the co-signer. So the car is in my aunt. The loan is in my aunt's name as me as the co-signer, but I'm making the payments. But the registration and everything is in my name.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my aunt is 82 years old. I was told that if she passes away, this car will go to her estate because she's the primary.
Correct.
So
Well, who's on the title? Who's on the title? She is.
Well, the registration and everything's in my name.
But who's on the title?
But the title is still owned by the bank.
Okay.
So, now I make the payments every month. I get the statement every month. But apparently she's primary and I'm the co-signer, which wasn't supposed to be that way. I was supposed to be primary.
Well, here's the quick fix. The quick fix is for you and your aunt to do a contract between each other that makes it clear that in the event anything happens to her, she and her estate are obligated to transfer that car to you.
Okay, because but they said that the insurance company or the loan, the bank has insurance on the car that if she passes away, the car is paid for, but then it goes to the estate. So you're saying to rectify that. But is there any recourse against the dealership for not making us aware what they were doing?
I mean, I guess ultimately you could go to them and try to bring something against them. They're going to say, no, you knew this, or they're just going to say it was an innocent paperwork mistake.
Okay. So, all right. So the easiest thing to do is just get a contract between my aunt and I, saying that if anything happens to her, the car is mine outright because I'm making the payment.
Yeah, and I would probably strongly suggest you have a lawyer or somebody assist you with that, only so that it's completely arm's length.
Okay.
And that it's also completely airtight, because who knows, I don't know if your aunt has any other heirs or not, but...
Yeah, she has 3 greedy children.
Well, there you go. There's your problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm worried.
Yep, that's why we would want to be airtight, and that's why we'd want to use a lawyer who also could say, I met with his aunt, and she had the capacity to do this. This isn't some scam.
Okay.
All right, my friend. Good luck.
Thank you.
There we go. He solved another legal problem. Bang, like that. Right? Well, here's the issue. Who knows how the paperwork got like it is, but I guess you could try to work to straighten it all out, which they could do. But the aunt could still die in the meantime, and that gets to be the problem. So I would go with the quick and easy remedy. It seems like it should be fine. Joan.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Carl.
What's going on?
I'm wondering how you officially close an estate in Pennsylvania.
Well, it's 1,000 ways. And what I mean by that is some estates really only require the filing of a tax return. So in those cases, that's all you need to do.
Okay, so if you've done that, you can pretty much...
Well, there's also a family agreement where all the heirs and people involved in the estate all sign off and say, I don't need a formal accounting, I'm fine with everything. Another way to do it is a final accounting, which you file with the court and then gets presented, and then that becomes binding on everybody. And people have a chance to object if they're thinking they don't like it.
Okay. What if it was very simple? I have two sisters. We were the administrators of her estate.
Right.
There really
you guys
wasn't
divvied
anything.
everything up. I would usually say do the tax return and then just do a family agreement that says we here's how we divvied everything up. We're happy with everything, and that creates a situation where it's not completely binding because if you missed a creditor or something, they still have some period of time to come in, but you should be okay.
All right, and then the only thing we really have left to deal with is the house where she lived is still in her name. Well, it's actually in the name of the estate.
Right. Now, you're going to put in somebody's name or you're going to sell it?
One of us is going to purchase the home.
Yeah, so that will have to be accomplished. And did you pay taxes on the house already?
We are currently, yes.
But I mean in terms of the estate tax?
Yes.
Somebody already filed that?
Yes.
Yeah, because and if it sells for less than you thought it was going to sell for, you may be entitled to a refund as well.
Oh, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, Joanne.
All right, have a great weekend.
You too. Yeah, it's always a little complicated to do those things. I would recommend usually having a lawyer assist with an estate, even if they're fairly simple, just to make sure everything's done right. We do run into problems where people come in, well, I did the estate, I closed everything down, and now this cropped up or that cropped up. And it becomes a lot more work in the back end to try to fix everything than it does when everything was done right in the first instance, particularly where one of the heirs has run off with some of the money and is refusing to, say, return some of it to cover one of those expenses. So you can end up with your sibling refusing to return money. You were the administrator or executor, and now you're going to be on the hook for that $1,000 bill, whereas we wouldn't have let you send the money out in the first instance until we were sure everything was nailed down or would kept a reserve, et cetera, et cetera. So there are some tips and tricks that lawyers can give you, but my strong inclination is that most people should not be doing an estate on their own, only because, again, not because you can't do it. It's just for the outlier issues. And trust me, if I could identify what cases were going to have crazy issues or problems in them later, I would never take them, right? But you can't. A lot of times on the surface, even if it seems pretty straightforward, you just never know when something's going to crop up. So that's kind of my basic advice. 540-0580. See you after the break. Welcome back. Carl Rominger here, 540-0580, answering your legal questions. Got a little bit left here on the 2-hour show, but of course we'll be back next Saturday as well. If you do need us in the meantime, go to romingerlaw.com, ROMINGERLAW.com, or call us at the office, 241-6070, 241-6070. Peggy, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good.
I had called last week and we needed more information on power of attorney.
Yeah.
Is it possible to just write it on a piece of paper and have it notarized, or must it go through an attorney?
It doesn't have to go through an attorney, but you got to have the right language in there.
Oh, okay.
And what I mean by that is a lot of banks are very particular about what it says. So, I mean, you can buy standard forms out there. People can download them off the internet. But you want to make sure that it covers everything you want it to do. Also, and I can tell you this from experience, we do find that some banks and institutions are more comfortable with an attorney-drafted one when they see a local attorney's name on it.
Right.
Because then they know you met with somebody, and they know it's not just some evil nephew trying to hoodwink you.
Okay, and then they had said that they could come to the house.
Right. I think we mentioned that last week.
Okay, you were the one I spoke with then.
Yeah.
Okay, and what was I going to say?
So did you want to call? You want to call into the office and make an appointment?
Yeah, it'll be a while.
Okay.
It's 241-6070.
Yes, that's the number.
And your address is 55 South Hanover Street.
155.
155.
Yep.
Okay, so it's better to have an attorney do it.
Well, listen, some people are going to go to me and go, well, she doesn't need an attorney. I'm going to say, no, you don't need an attorney, and you absolutely could do it on your own. But you do have to have the right language, and I'm saying that, yes, in my experience, an attorney-written one. So I'll give you an example. If you see a POA come in and you're a banker somewhere, and it looks like it was downloaded off the internet, and it looks like it's granting a lot of power to somebody, you might kind of go, okay, what's really going on here? On the other hand, if you see that's written by a local lawyer, you could just call that lawyer up and go, hey, did you do a power of attorney for so-and-so? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay. That way they know. There's a way to verify it.
I see.
All right?
All right.
All right, Peggy, thank you very much.
Because right now my husband has trouble writing.
Right. Well, and his ability to write doesn't really matter as long as somebody witnesses the writing, which is also important why we'd want to have a notary there, because that witnessing of the writing is really what you need. Your signature is not really a signature, it's a mark. You need only leave a mark. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Right. I think I got it all.
Got it. 540-0580. Walter, you're on the air. Walter.
Yes, just curious about abandoning your house and letting it go off a tax sale. If there's any financial consequences, credit ratings, and what the procedure would be. I've been trying to sell my house, but
yeah, I mean the short answer is if you just let it go for taxes, there would be a credit hit for you. Absolutely. Is there a mortgage on it as well?
No, I finished paying off the mortgage about 8 years ago, and
gotcha.
I've had about 6 robberies and vandalisms, and
where's it located? Down in the city?
Yeah, it's in the city. Needless to say.
Gotcha. You haven't been able to sell it at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Shane, what's Paul Chase's number? Do you know it off the top of your head? I want to put you in touch with our resident expert on distressed properties, Paul Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's down with Caldwell Banker. He's got an office in Lancaster, Harrisburg, Camp Hill. So he'd be the guy I want you to talk to because he may be able to give you a strategy, or he may even have a buyer in mind that could help you. My theory on that would be you hate to just let it go, right? If you don't have to. The flip side is it doesn't sound like it's really helping you at all, is it?
Well, the thing is, with the latest vandalism, damaged the heating and plumbing, and UGI found a gas leak, and they cut the gas off. And
yeah, now it's just snowballing. Paul Shane just put the number up for me. It's 735-8400.
Yeah, okay. So I jotted that down. So,
yeah, 735-8400. Call him. He's the best guy to handle something like that.
Okay.
All right?
Okay, good enough.
Yeah, I wish I had a better answer than that. But, you don't really want to let those things go if you don't have to, because it will create a credit issue with the situation. So that would be my thought on the matter. Paul Chase, just so you guys know, if you do want to get hold of him and talk to him about real estate, it's 735-8400. Boy, oh boy. I just don't want to tell people in these situations because they keep cropping up, particularly the city properties. And that's how did I know it was in the city, right? Peggy, you're on the air.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I was just speaking to you. Sorry to bother you.
No, it's okay.
There's a power of attorney. If you came to the house, would the notary come with you?
We'll have to bring the notary along, too. That's why I told you the cost is always more expensive for a home visit on something like that. Okay. The other possibility is if the attorney comes and witnesses you sign, as an attorney, we can do a notary stamp where I swear to the notary as an officer of the court that I saw you sign. So sometimes we can skip the step of bringing the notary along.
I see.
All right?
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Whew. Back again. I guess we're screening the last caller here, right, Shane? No? That's not. No? You fighting with the last caller, Shane? What's going on over there? He said, who knows? All right, well, I don't know if we're going to have any time for any more callers yet or not, so we'll see. in the meantime, of course, you can always join me on Facebook. It's Carl with a K, Rominger, Rominger. There's always some scuttlebutt going on there, even during the show here. So I know that Skipper Bill wants to be our full-time call screener, and I pointed out to him we don't actually screen the calls. We pretty much take whatever calls in. I mean, maybe Shane's going to tell me differently, but I'm pretty sure if you call this show, you'll usually get through. The only problem we have is there's only so many lines, so sometimes the call volume is such that we can't get you through. Other thing they wanted me to put up, and I will put up on the Facebook page, is a link to the web docket. So remember earlier in the show when I told you should look up your own dirty criminal history, learn a little bit more about yourself? I'm going to put the raw link up right on that Facebook thread. So if you get a chance, stop by the Facebook page and you can look it up. For those of you who don't know what the internet is, it's a great little tool. It's actually the ujsportal.pacourts.us. And you can look yourself up in there. You can see what traffic tickets you've had. And it goes back pretty far. You'd be surprised how far back it actually goes. So you'll be able to see some real history on yourself. Also, non-traffic's in there, criminals in there. So pretty much, if you want to learn a little bit more about your boyfriend or girlfriend's past as well. Now, if you really want to learn a lot about it, you probably should also go check the civil dockets, right? But those aren't generally available online yet. I'll be curious to see if and when that happens. But eventually, Pennsylvania is bringing, and I think 2014 or 2015, most of the civil dockets are going to be online. Although now they're creating issues because there's certain privacy issues. Like, for instance, a lot of custody dockets and divorce dockets mention things about children, and sometimes actually things about children that are quite personal to the child and the relationship, because they're being brought to the court's attention. For instance, in a custody case, little Jimmy has developmental problems, and little Jimmy still wets the bed at 10. Now, what do you think is going to happen when the other school kids get into that? Poor little Jimmy's going to be harassed and harangued and unfairly made fun of. So the courts are going to have to struggle with what to do with that. So we'll see how that all washes out. Guys, I'll be back next week to answer your legal questions. Of course, in the meantime, go to RomingerLaw.com. Look me up on Facebook, Carl Rominger, Carl with a K. Rominger's Rominger. Or call 241-6070, 241-6070. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.